As the owner of a travel and lifestyle company, I spend my days exploring new experiences for our clients. Top of that list is the Cape Winelands. Come with me and spend time with the personalities responsible for crafting these wonderful experiences. The great thing about Vardas is the relationship with Spear. And so all the produce is easily under a kilometer away.
Mornings.
We were talking earlier about the whole, the idea behind being quite focused on sustainability. And the relationship between the restaurant and, I guess, Angus and the team on the farm. How does that work in terms of putting together a menu, for example?
It makes life a little bit simpler, but also more difficult. You need to be quite creative in ways to use up a full carcass or use up a whole animal, and you need to get people to buy in, to say, no, you're not going to get lamb, or you're not going to get fillet steak, because even pork ribs, which was our biggest seller, we only do 20 racks a week and it's sold out on the first day. I think it's more challenging for the guests than for us. For my side, it makes it quite fun and creative. It makes sense. I mean, it's about a kilometer away or 500 meters away that our meat comes from. So you've got your carbon footprint is pretty much almost zero.
I mean, when you say to a customer, like, the ribs are not here, and you explain why.
Most people get it. Most people do. You always get people that
don't want to get it.
Yeah, they don't really understand. But most people do get it. And it's a commitment we made, and the quality is so much better. There's a need for good, family-friendly restaurants that, you can feed your kid a healthy meal, or at least the meat's good, and not just going to sort of your big chains. And focusing on the local people in Stellenbosch, Somerset West, around here, that would want to bring their kids after school here and come as a family.
The interesting thing about Spear is that it's like an estate having a conversation with itself. On one hand, you've got the Cape Dutch heritage, but then you also have a very modern African aesthetic. And there's this a bit of a dance between the two, where the old meets the new, the past meets the future. And it's quite interesting how they find ways of making those two thoughts and worlds work together in one space. The love of art at Spear comes from Dick Enthoven, who's the patriarch of the Enthoven family, who owns Spear. So he's a big art patron, and so that's reflected very much in Spear's focus on the arts. But it's not just art for art's sake. It's about using art as a tool to create opportunities for other people. So if you look at the artisan studio, it's a space of learning for new artists and people who might not have even ever imagined themselves to be artists. I mean, when you like, for example, like a work like this, right?
Yes.
When you finish it,
Yes.
And a client comes and buys it, how does that feel? I mean, when you know that your work is going somewhere overseas?
I'm feeling very happy. I'm feeling very happy I'm very proud. Even I'm very proud because I teach other people.
What makes Spear interesting experience is the fact that there are these different pockets of spaces. Some lend themselves to quite serene moments, or then the open lawns with kids running around. So you can have spaces where you can go and disconnect, as it were. But then there are also other spaces where there's a lot of activity and you can become part of that energy. So that's what I like about it. When you come to De La Havre, what you come to appreciate is how they think of themselves. So it's a global wine estate that is South African, but they're very outward looking. At every touch point, everything is very thought out, well considered, great taste, nothing is over the top. At every part of this journey here, it's an expression of that very a curated luxury experience.
I actually knew nothing about wine. I was just a wine drinker, wine consumer, like anyone else. But what interests me is that the more I learned about wine,
the more you realize you need to learn. So it's like a progressive thing.
That's definitely so. And afterwards, I actually became quite passionate about the industry overall, and basically just that's where it started, blew up. I worked for about 2 years at Takara before I moved over to Dal-E. The opportunity
that's a good place to start.
It's a good place to start, like the exposure you get. Like Takara and Dal-E is two competitive wineries, especially being right across from each other.
Yeah.
The quality of the wine at both estates is quite good, but at the end of the day, Dal-E is where the heart is, where I found love for wine.
My introduction to the La Havre was your rosé. And when, about 3 years ago, when suddenly everybody was producing rosés and I was trying to find the really good ones, this was the one that I really,
The one that stood out for
the one that stood out for me,
produced in South Africa.
because everybody else was producing these overly pink wines.
Sweeter rosés. I know exactly what you're talking about. It used to be quite a trend in South Africa a few years back, but nowadays, we've moved away from that style of how rosé is often produced to more of a drier characteristic that tends to come through. It still has that fruit-forward sensation, but it's not actually too overwhelming.
It's not fruity.
That's often the case.
Some of them are like a lot of sugar. And it feels like you're having like a soft drink.
A lot of guys lean more towards the full-bodied red. Those are often the go-to ones. But I think nowadays, especially with the warmer climates we've been experiencing.
For me, these are this like a perfect summer wine.
A swimming pool.
Swimming pool wine, fish fry.
Good company, good conversation.
Yeah. So for me, when I drink this, that's what I.
You think summer. That's exactly what rosé is all about. But recently, you'll notice nowadays, South Africa has become quite competitive. You'll find some of the best wines being produced, and especially this part of the Western Cape.
Of course, you say the Stellenbosch, right?
Stellenbosch.
I hear you've just come back from a trip, and so this is like what's going on onto the new menu, right?
Yes, it is. Yes. So what I'm preparing now is just a tuna tataki.
Okay.
It's just a tuna tataki, but it's more like just a sashimi-style tuna that we're doing. So we're pickling just the tuna in a chili pickle, like for a minute. And then we're going to serve it with fresh watermelon and then also with some fresh Thai herbs, caramelized onions, and just like bits of flavors, obviously that's going to complement the tuna. Giving like that feeling, obviously of Asia, but still like a resemblance of South Africa, because I don't want it to serve Asian food,
Yeah. That's all for this week. Join us next week as we explore a little corner of France in the winelands, Franschhoek.